this Ramadan.
Assalamu alaikum, Ramadan Mubarak to all the listeners. It is a really great opportunity that we have to engage with you, especially during this very special time, and that we can extend our daily du'as and our prayers for the people of Western Sahara. Today, we have the privilege of having in our midst very um, highly profiled individuals. One is Madame Bushiho Mutlo, born in Brixton in Johannesburg in 1950. She's an exilee and she left South Africa in 1961 as an ANC member to Botswana, Tanzania, Ghana, Nigeria, and Europe. Studied in Tanzania, Ghana, and Nigeria, and the first degree and postgrad was from Ghana. Madame Busheho Mutlau has worked for Radio Ghana's External Service and Radio Nigeria External Service, Current Affairs, Kiswahili Department, worked for International Labour Organization, the ILO, from 1999 to 2012, and has been an activist since she was a child. We are very honored to have you, Madam Bukhisho Mutlau, if you want to just briefly greet.
Thank you very much, Magdalene. I'm very honored to be here. Thank you for inviting me. The struggles of our people across the continent has always been very close to my heart. And the Sahrawi Republic being the last colony on the continent is very close to my heart as well. The issues of that country are very close to my heart. So I'm happy to be here to discuss how we go forward with the struggle.
Yes,
Thank
and
you.
I've heard that you've recently also returned from the camp, so you will have stories to tell us of the developments.
Thank you. I'll
Okay.
wait to hear. Yeah.
Our next guest is His Excellency Ambassador Mohamed Yeslem Beisat Dish. The ambassador, His Excellency, studied in his primary studies were in the Western Sahara, and his university studies were in Algeria, where he obtained his qualification in Arabic language and literature. He followed some other studies in Spain and in South Africa, and he's a candidate for a PhD in the University of Algiers in international relations. He has been in the student movement. Uje Polisario has been a representative of the Polisario Front, and has been obviously involved in many missions all over the world as in his ambassadorial capacity. He's head of Sahrawi mission in Pretoria, currently South Africa, and he has been ambassador of Sahrawi people to Algeria. He's also been a minister delegate for African Affairs and minister delegate for Latin America and the Caribbean. We welcome you, His Excellency Ambassador Beisat. Can you please greet the listeners?
Hello, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Ms. Moonsamy, my dear sister Bushekho, dear listeners. It's my honor and pleasure to be with you in this special time of Ramadan, and where we will be aspiring for your salats and your dua for this very, very special occasion.
Yes, I forgot page 2 of the ambassador's profile. Let me quickly just indicate he has been a member of the National Secretariat of Polisario Front, head of the Mission of Western Sahara in Washington, D.C., governor of the province of El Aaiún, ambassador of South Africa of Sahrawi Republic to South Africa, also a member of Sahrawi delegation in the African Union summits, member of NAM, and he was also Sahrawi delegation to General Assembly in New York, United Nations, and he has served as special envoy to the CARICOM countries, in Pacific countries, South Pacific, He was also acting as a representative for Europe, where he worked closely with European institutions and visited several Central and Eastern Europe. He speaks many languages. I know this for myself. He even speaks isiZulu, isiXhosa mama Boshiko, very fluently.
I wish.
Okay. Thank you so, thank you so much. Let us start the show. I think what's most important is that we want to use this opportunity of an hour to try, and we've already had many interviews. The ambassador will be concurring with me as well. We've had many interviews with many media houses on the issue. Salaamedia has been one of our greatest influences in terms of getting our message across, and we must first extend all of our shukrans to them for being so supportive in the struggle. The background, let's do a brief background, and we will allow Ambassador. One of the things, Ambassador, I think for me, that never came out in the background was the origination. Where, who are the original owners of the land? And because I think that that will then put into perspective how the issue of what Madame Mutlaus says is that it's the last colony on the continent, and we understand that. So one of the things I think we omit when we message is, why are we fighting? It's because it's the land of the Sahrawi people, and that a little bit on that background will assist if we can have that, ambassador, and then take us into the current status, and let's just have that conversation. Thank you so much, ambassador.
Thank you very much, Ms. Moonsamy. Thank you for me, Salaamedia, and to the listeners. Western Sahara is 266,000 square kilometers in northwest of Africa, between Mauritania, Algeria, and Morocco, on the Atlantic coast of Africa, facing the Canarian Islands from the other side. The people of Western Sahara is a hybrid people made up from the Berbers, who are the Moorish, who are the ancient inhabitants of North Africa, with Arabs who came in the 9th and the 10th century during those times. Then the African people of Al Bafur, an African tribes who have been on the fringe with the Moorish, neighboring the Moorish. And of course, these three components are totally integrated in each other, because there are no one who speak Berber or speak the Moorish or the Bafur African languages. The dominant language is a link, a dialect that includes some Arabic words, some Berber words, and some African words, and some Spanish words also, because of the Spanish colony. The people of Western Sahara never had a very clear and meticulously done census. So there are only estimations about how many Sahrawis are there. And they ran from 500,000 to 800,000, a little bit less than a million. So, but they're still, with that very small number of inhabitants, are more than a third of members of the United Nations. Even in Africa, in African continent, when you see the population of Seychelles, or the population of Comoros, or the population of Equatorial Guinea or Sao Tome, 6 or 7 countries in the continent, Sahrawi Republic has more population than them, and 1/3 of members of the United Nations, the Sahrawi Republic has a bigger surface of them. So these people have been owning their land. They have been living in it in peace for centuries and centuries. The kingdom happening in the north, in Algeria and Morocco, never actually reached Western Sahara. The African Sangai and Fota Jallo in southern Mauritania and Senegal never also reached Western Sahara. It has the tribes there have established a regime where they can run their efforts and manage their relations with their neighbors from the north or neighbors of the south, or with the starting from the 14th century, the European incursion in Africa, especially Portuguese, Netherlands, UK, then in the end, Spain and France, which arrived in the 16th, 17th century, where the Sahrawi people was engaged in one of the longest anti-colonial struggles that took them more than 100 years. And Western Sahara actually was the last resistance, anti-colonial resistance that take down their arms in 1934 when they reached an agreement with the Spanish colonialism in Canadian islands, where the Spanish will control the coasts, but they will never do any incursion inside the territory. The Sahrawi notables did that agreement with Spain to avoid France, because they were in a very bitter and long war with the French for many, many years. So it was a Spanish colony claimed by Spain during the colonialism. Then it didn't arrive till 55, 56, 57. Then the Sahrawi started again fighting for the decolonization of their land, with the impact of the Algerian Revolution and of the Algerian liberation or war liberation. Then in 1958, Spain and France did what is well known as Operation Ocovion, where they crushed the anti-colonial struggle that the Sahrawi started in 56, 57, since 55. Then the struggle continues, become the revolution of Zimla in 1970 under the leadership of Mohamed Ibrahim Basiri. Then it was a peaceful demonstration on 17th of June 1970. Then Spain, the fascist Spain done by dictator Francisco Franco, have also crushed the peaceful struggle, and that have led in the end to the establishment of Polisario Front, where all those who were involved in the anti-colonial struggle, in the Zimla uprising, the students in the neighboring countries and in Spain, the patriots who are in the Spanish army, and the trade unions and the workers of the Fos Bokra, all those joined forces in 1973 and formed what will be known as Polisario Front, which is the Liberation Front, the People's Liberation Front of Western Sahara, which has united all the Sahrawis in this anti-colonial struggle, which started against Spain, which led to the defeat of Spain and its withdrawal. But unfortunately, our neighbors signed a partition deal with Morocco to divide our land between our two neighbors, and that led to the Second War that was very bitter and very long for 18 years. Then we reached an agreement with the United Nations and Morocco, where we'll give the people the right to choose. Unfortunately, Morocco changed their heart about this peace agreement of 91, and the war came again, which will continue now in a very strong manner. And we are expected Morocco to come back to reason and come back to negotiating table, and we implement the already established and agreed peace agreements, which was brokered by United Nations and AU, with the support of the Security Council. Today, as we speak, the country is divided between occupied territory and liberated territory. Morocco is ruling more than almost 2/3 of the territory and exploiting the natural resources, oppressing the people, and rejecting the United Nations efforts, and refusing that the African Union have any say in the peace efforts done by United Nations. They are blocking the mediator, which is Staffan de Mistura, to do any work, and they are embarking in a coalition with the Israelis, buying armament and satellites and drones from the Israelis, thinking silly that the armament or the money can solve the problem. Morocco never had problem of armament. They always had the best armament. But what is lacking for Morocco is not the armament and is not the technology. was lacking Morocco is justice, because they don't have justice in their side, and they will never have a justice unless they give the Sahrawi people the right of their self-determination, where they can choose freely what and who they want to be. I thank you.
Thank you very much, His Excellency. Madam Mutlau, let me ask your perspective in terms of having visited the camps, having been able to have that exposure, being part of solidarity, being committed to the struggles of the oppressed, in your experience, not only being in exile, but also in your experience looking at it now, the struggles that have historically you have fought, the battles that you have fought in exile, and what is your view from what we have taken in order to say, let's not go to where to from here right now, but what is your analysis in terms of the injustice that is faced by the Sahrawi people, and the role that is played by the African Union, especially Morocco not being a fair, or not being fair, but just being inhumane and having such a negative impact in terms of curing the struggle?
Thank you very much, Magdalene. Let me start by saying I want to condole the group, the Friends of Western Sahara, the committee that we have in South Africa, on the loss of General Keith Mokwape, who was such a mover for this, the support that we were trying to give to the people of Western Sahara. He has since passed on, having been ill. We had gone to Algeria together, invited by the Algerian government, being members of the ANC and the people who had some contact with Algeria. There in Algeria, we met this Western Sahara ambassador, and the plan was to come back to South Africa and continue to organize, to have, South Africans visit the camp, so that when we talk about what is happening in Western Sahara, we are speaking from, a position of having been there, having engaged and having seen what is going on there. My problem with Morocco and the AU, post-OAU, is we have an organization on the continent that seems to be completely emasculated, because I cannot understand why, when the OAU had agreed, that the Morocco should be expelled because of its intransigence and its, continued occupation of a fellow African country. The AU has come into being, and the AU is still unable, to hold up that position, has actually welcomed Morocco back into the fold. It means we have an organization that's supposed to be protecting members, countries that belong to that organization. But one nation can up and oppress an African country and do what Western nations had done on the continent, which would be to, colonize and oppress the peoples of this continent. And when Spain leaves, Spain hands over a country to them instead of back to the people of the Sahara, Western Sahara, which is exactly what happened in South Africa after the Anglo-Boer War, when eventually the British, instead of giving South Africa back to the people who owned the country, gave it to the Afrikaners, who proceeded to, to take the land, 87% of the land, and give only 13% to the owners of the land, and then institute apartheid, which, oppressed the people, and it was so brutal for so many years, hence getting us to go into that long struggle for freedom. Now we are seeing the same thing in Western Sahara. And the United Nations is unable to do anything about it. The OAU is unable to do anything about it. So it only means it's, the people of Western Sahara have been left to their own devices. And, the few countries like Algeria and South Africa who support their struggle. We must start at the AU to say, why is it impossible to get this country to get out of Western Sahara? I have been involved with the issues of Western Sahara from my secondary school days. I mean, my university days in Ghana in the 70s. That's when I first came across the Polisario Front, when, members came to Ghana. I belonged to an organization that was called the All Africa Students Union, which was members were universities from across the continent. And we were involved in the struggle of freedom fighting for Mozambique, Angola, Zimbabwe, which was Southern Rhodesia, then South Africa. So the people of Western Sahara, were represented by the Polisario Front. How long ago was that? Why is it that we are unable as a continent to resolve this issue and get these people to, get their independence from Morocco? What is it that the continent is so afraid of Morocco that it continues to oppress the people? And it's now, partnering with Israel. And we know that Israel is a Zionist state. It has no interest whatsoever in the freedoms of the peoples of Africa. Why is it that the United Nations and the AU cannot resolve the issues of Western Sahara? Thank you.
Yeah, I think on that point, Madame, is the issue that Morocco left the OAU and found its way back into the AU with malice and with obviously using patronage and dollar patronage as a means. But why is it as the AU, the countries, and you're asking a very pertinent question, how do we as a continent agree for there to be a oppressor by a neighbor? So we're going to catch up with that. We're going to take a short break and then we'll be back. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Loved, secure, and cared for. At Beit Halima Saadia Orphanage, we are not just providing a roof over their heads, we're giving orphan children a chance for a brighter future. For just 1,500 rands a month or 18,000 rands a year, you can sponsor an orphan and transform their life. Your contribution covers essentials like food, clothing, tuition, therapy, and more, ensuring they grow in a nurturing, supportive environment. Any donation is accepted as well as daily scheduled donations. EFT directly into our account. Beit Halima Saadia Orphanage, First National Bank, account number 6313-1080-078, branch code 250737, section 18A registered. Take this step today. Contact Sister Nazarene at 083-653-5669 or email info@bhscycc.co.za.
You South African, of course. You anxious about the future. We've got you covered. Build on your wealth portfolio with Randry Jewelers Gold Coin Exchange. Visit us at 151 Stephen Dlamini Road, Musgrave, Durban, or call us on 031-202-4700 for more information. Randry Jewelers Gold Coin Exchange, your passport to gold investment.
Join Africa Muslims Agency this Ramadan as we dig deep, reaching into the heart of the earth to fill the cups of those in need. A water well or borehole provides multiple mercies beyond clean drinking water. from education to empowerment to health. Sponsor a water well for 16,500 Rand in Africa, a borehole for 55,000 Rand in Afghanistan, or 65,000 Rand in Africa. This Ramadan, let your mercy flow with AMA. 23 nations, one table, every meal, a mercy.
You know, it's a wonder how kids get anything done these days. With all the distractions, when do they even get time to study? As a mother, all I can really do is make sure they have all they need to perform at their best. That's why I choose to include Sunfoil, triple refined pure sunflower oil with every meal I make. Naturally cholesterol-free and approved by the Heart and Stroke Foundation as part of a balanced eating plan. So whether I'm cooking, frying, or baking, I know every dish will be a wholesome one. Sunfoil, now we're cooking.
This Ramadan, your zakah and sadaqah are more than charity. They are a duty, a lifeline to many, and your path to endless reward. Be the change with Muslim hands and transform lives across the globe. Together, we can feed the hungry in South Africa and beyond, provide clean water to communities in the most need, empower women with sustainable opportunities across 13 countries, and offer vital relief to families suffering from the conflict in Gaza, Yemen, and Kashmir. This Ramadan, make your generosity count. Be the change today. Visit muslimhands.org.za or call 021 633 6413 to donate today.
Salaamedia, your spiritual companion this Ramadan.
And welcome back. Thank you so much to the listeners for staying with us. We are really blessed and shukr. I just want us to go into another dimension. I think one of the things raised by Madame Bukhisho is the issue of General Kit Mukwape, who was a very dedicated to the struggle. He even spent years in the Western Sahara in training. And there was a statement that was released by the Solidarity Movement in South Africa. There has been support that has been given. The difficulty, obviously, is that what we face is in terms of our movement is one that is non-funded, and we need to have the kind of financial support that we can get in order to accelerate the things that we do. And this is why we utilize the platforms that we are given, like Salaamedia, for every opportunity for education, awareness, and for campaigning. Let's go to Ambassador on the issue of what is it that the Sahrawi people are demanding, apart from self-determination. What is it? Can you take us through, please, Ambassador?
The Sahrawi people have been in this struggle now for 50 years. This 2025 will mark the 50th anniversary, half a century of the Sahrawi people struggle to gain back their dignity, their freedom, and their self-determination, and their national sovereignty over their natural resources, and of their territorial integrity. But the Sahrawi people not only waiting, while they are struggling to find this, they are also building their institution, they are doing their education system. Everyone has the right and the obligation to go to school. Every kid is educated, is enrolled in a school. There is also the health system, which is one of the most efficient in the region. There is the democratic and the participation of the population, especially women and the youth, in the decision-taking bodies. There is the raising awareness of the Sahrawi people, where in the last 50 years, even with its hardship and its struggle and its challenges, the Sahrawi people have done a lot to almost do a very deep transformation in the Sahrawi society, where every family in these 50 years, 5, 6, 7 of their kids are with a university diploma. Boys and girls, with no discrimination between boys and girls. So there is the culture activity, the military institution, the Sahrawi Liberation Army, how they have been training and they have been upgrading their forces, the diplomatic front of the Sahrawi Republic. So on all the levels, the promotion of women and the protection of kids and all of those struggle on different fronts. The Sahrawi people approach towards the struggle is not only a military struggle that you hit the Moroccan soldiers and try to by force to oblige them to respect your right, but it was more a combined approach of a struggle of multi-front and multi-faced struggles on social, political, economic, diplomatic levels, where the Sahrawis can join hands and do more efforts that will consociate the society, strengthen the society, raise awareness of the society, so they can keep their unity in the struggle and they can intensify the struggle towards the total decolonization of the Sahara, of the Western Sahara, and the total respect of the sovereignty of Sahrawi Republic.
Thank you very much, Ambassador. Going back to do that. Oh, okay. Oh, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Sorry, I don't know how that happened, but my apologies. I want to say, Madam, you have been to the camps. One of the things that stands out for me is that when there is war, administration is handled by the women. You have many female governors. There is a lot of egalitarianism in the amongst the Sahrawi people. The respect for women is highly um, appreciated. What has been your experience in detail, and what lessons can we learn? Because I think one of the things is that, yes, we want solutions. We're going to get to the solution part where we want a referendum, we want etc. But what lessons can we learn from the Sahrawi people themselves?
Magdalene, please let me correct the impression that I have been to the Sahrawi camps. Unless you want to ask me about ANC camps in Tanzania, which is where I first got into the camps as a 12-year-old. But I'm sure, I'm sure the similarities there with the struggles of a people for freedom. There will be similarities. So I could say, as a woman, who has been in the struggle, I would say it is important, very, very important, to take the women along. And the ambassador has already, enunciated on that, to say that, there's equality for both genders, both men and women. The young the children, young girls, young boys, everybody's given the opportunity to get an education. And I find that a very interesting and a very good point, because if the women are homemakers, the women are nation builders, so we should not underestimate the good that can be brought by involving women in the struggle of a people. So I would say that the challenges for women are a lot more than they would be for men, because the women are the ones who rear the children. The women are the ones who must run a home. The women are the ones who must be wives. And yet, at the same time, they are there in society facing the same challenges, that in a situation of being oppressed, like the Western Sahara people are. The brutality of oppression from the colonizers will be the same, visited on both men and women. So if you educate your women, you give them the leeway to to express themselves, you give them the leeway to contribute to the struggle, I think the country stands a great chance of achieving its goals by involving both the men and women. Thanks.
Let me do a follow up with you, Madam Bukisho. Is the issue of the human rights violations, the human rights violations, the genocidal acts that are taking place, the theft of resources, and the issue of the right to self-determination. Now, in the Constitutive Act of the African Union, we understand in terms of the articles, the right of sovereignty. We understand that no country that oppresses another can be a part that must, you spoke about that earlier, being expelled from the African Union. But I just want to get a sense from you regarding your position and what then with the envoy led by Stefan de Mistura and the United Nations, a breach of United Nations human rights activities, human rights declaration, the UDHR, and also the demand for self-determination. How difficult is it, from your experiences all over the continent and the world, in terms of making common sense of a situation that is just resolvable? Can you assist us with that, please, ma'am?
Yeah. Just look at what is happening in Palestine. The oppressor disregards international law. The oppressor goes and does exactly what he or she wants. And the United Nations, you go to the General Assembly, you ask people to vote on this, on that, and at the end of the day, all of that is disregarded. So just like we did in Southern Africa, where we had to go to war and fight, it's a situation where you are going to have to use force to remove this oppressor from your nation. Because if we are going to rely on the United Nations, I'm sorry, I worked for the United Nations, but we have seen that, peacekeeping forces are sent into countries. They go to the DRC, they go to Haiti, but the confusion continues. We are having hundreds and thousands of people murdered in Palestine. Has the United Nations managed to do anything about it? No. Because the issues are brought before the General Assembly and then they are vetoed by the powers that be, powers that have more say than powers that are more equal than others. So how is it going to be different in Western Sahara? It just is a situation where a people must just fight until they remove the oppressor physically from their nation. I find that the AU and the United Nations, they can, talk about what legalities there are, but they are disregarded. So I find them emasculated. I'm sorry. I just find that it has never really been in the interest of, the oppressed. In Southern Africa, our struggle went on for so long. The United Nations was always there. What did they do? Because most of the nations that have the say there are actually the ones who, on the side of oppressors. They themselves are former colonizers. So their interest to exploit these countries, they take those more important than the countries becoming free, because they themselves are after the minerals that are in the countries that are oppressed. Western Sahara has got all that bauxite. They want it. So if Morocco is going to give it to them to backdoor, then they're going to support Morocco. The freedom struggle must just intensify. Those of us who are there to support the Western Sahara must just go all out and do it and make sure that that country gets its independence. The referendum that was supposed to hold never held. Why? Because Morocco doesn't want to. Morocco has no intention, there's no good intention by Morocco to resolve this issue. The only way to resolve it is through armed struggle. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Madam. Ambassador, I want to get to the issue of the support that the Western Sahara has. Outside support. Well, from South Africa, you got support from Algeria, you got support from China. Now, in that aspect, I want us to go back to the manner, the adiplomatic manner, undiplomatic manner, if I can put it that way, of Morocco's behavior in TICAD, Morocco's behavior constantly in the AU, Morocco's behavior in South Africa, disrespecting, not wanting the Western Sahara to be present in a meeting, not wanting the extent to which the level of intolerance exists, is a basic breach not only of diplomatic criteria, but also it's an outward demonstration. Look at what happened in the Pan-African Parliament. Mama Naledi, when she was a Minister of International Relations, had to request that the correction and the behavior of Morocco was unacceptable. So what I want to understand is, when we are talking, Madame Mutau says, okay, let's go to war. We are at war. We are fighting on the frontiers. And yet, when we are sitting in a building of magnitude of the AU, of the United Nations, these are diplomats, these are politicians. How then are the rules broken for Morocco? Is it because of the bilateral with Morocco and with Israel that we are undermined? In those places where a point of order can't be raised, you even have your name tag removed from an official gathering. How do we at that level come to a point that we utilize strategy and tactics in terms of correcting? Because that's where the respect must start. It must start there, and then we'll deal with what we need to deal with on the frontiers. But let's attend to that issue and the role also that the Western Sahara has played in terms of training, sending soldiers, sending support, etc., to South Africa. What is it that South Africa, and we need to ask this question openly as South Africans, what is it that you want? Do we support you in any way, whether it is a military manner, so that we can come to a solution? We cannot only receive without giving. Thank you, Ambassador.
No, thank you very much, Ms. Moonsamy. Morocco behavior in the international fora is really very problematic and bullish. They look at, in the African Union, since they came, they try to avoid that Western Sahara is put in the agenda. They will pay some countries and some officials to remove the item from the agenda. If that didn't work, they will come just with force to remove your tag with the Sahrawi Republic. Since they came, they are playing the tactics of blockage. They don't allow anyone from North Africa to be in the bureaus of different structures of the African Union, be it the Bureau of the Summit, be it the Bureau of the Executive Council, be it the Bureau of the STC, which is the Specialized Technical Committees. All Moroccans do is to avoid that Western Sahara be mentioned, that Western Sahara be spoken about, that Western Sahara Republic be there. So he used this checkbook diplomacy, which he used in European Union also. In European Union, they established a pyramid of corruption, where they were giving money to MPs, to the Bureau of the European Parliament, to avoid any report or an investigation or any question about Western Sahara. Now we have 6 MPs from European Parliament in jail, and we have another 60 MPs of European Parliament are investigated. They are doing the same in Latin America, in United Nations. Every former UN envoy to Western Sahara end up living in Morocco, be it Jensen, be it Dunbar, be it Rizvi, even Pillay, which was in the Human Rights Commissioner of United Nations, a judge that was defending the Robben Islanders. When she was in the Human Rights High Commissioner for Human Rights, she couldn't even publish the report the her institution did on Western Sahara, because Morocco is contributing $1 million a year in the budget of the Human Rights Commission of the United Nations. They didn't allow her to publish a photo she took with a delegation from Western Sahara. To that level, they have paid her deputy, a guy from Sweden, his name Sputnik or Konrad or something. They paid her other deputy. They do that with the United Nations, with European Union, with African Union, with even small groupings in Latin America, Parliament of Central America, Parliament of Southern America, Parliament of Andines. They bring them in numbers to do their demonstrations, to do their meetings in the occupied territory of Western. From ANC, cadres were taken to Morocco, and they were saying some statements about how beautiful is Morocco and so on. So Morocco used bullying with the Sahrawis, intimidation with the others, and checkbook diplomacy with the others to try to have this issue silenced, to try that people speak about this matter. Morocco is contributing $100,020 in the budget of Swaziland every year. It goes $120,000 for transport, which only ends up in the pocket of some people. Since 1997. And it goes like this with some countries. But no matter how Morocco pays, no matter how Morocco bullies, no matter how Morocco buys satellites from Israel with $2 billion or buy armament or drones, this will not face Morocco. Morocco will have no more money than United States. Morocco will not have more armament than United States. All the armaments of United States and all the money of couldn't save them to stay in Iraq or to stay in Vietnam or to stay in Afghanistan. Morocco will face the same end. Will leave like America left Vietnam, like America left Iraq, and like America left Afghanistan. Money and bullying can give you some time, some days, some weeks, some months, maybe a year, but will not protect you all the time. The right will prevail. Justice always will prevail in the end.
I concur, Ambassador. I concur.
I think one of the things we need to do is, and we've done this before, is call for the expulsion of Morocco from South Africa, whether it's in the form of a charge d'affaires or whatever, consulate, whatever form it is taking, because that should have never happened, because South Africa is breaching its own. It has led the AU. It is breaching its own articles of the AU, and it should be held accountable. Like it holds Israel accountable and takes them to the International Court of Justice, why can it not then raise the issue in its own borders to say, Morocco, get out. We don't want you here. And we don't need you here. So that's the first thing. But the issue also is the lack of accountability in terms of Morocco does not allow media into the occupied and unoccupied territories. So this is the platforms that we have to express our views, to explain the conditions, to be able to say, okay, fine. We need to have a solid understanding that if Salaamedia is always supporting our cause and those things. Morocco has never participated in any of these conversations with us because they do not have a line of defense. And let's agree to that. But also, in closing, I'm just going to give 2 minutes, 3 minutes each, please. The issue of political prisoners that are being held. Those women, those children, those young people, for no reason, and they are not allowed legal defense. That is a very critical issue. That is a breach of international law. And that's something that we have to be able to say, okay, how do we then also intervene as a country? If we can intervene for Palestine, we must intervene for those on our continent. I just want us in closing, Ambassador and Madam, to speak about the European Court of Justice decision on the resources and how we are doing. What is the status? Where do we see ourselves going? We want a referendum. Without a referendum, we continue the war. And if the war is an excuse for no referendum, let there be the war until we are done with Morocco. Because Morocco in itself must not boast that it has the artillery capacity to be able to fight a battle. It has lost a battle before. It cannot win another battle because it is being funded and it is using, and these allies and these resources are the reason that they are being supported is because the resources that they have are needed by these very so-called, I don't want to use the word powerful, but bullish countries. So let's go and let's, in closing, talk to the issue of the decision, the judgment of the European Court of Justice.
Yes.
And then let's talk to any other issues that we may have outlined in terms of demining the landmines. Can we get support from the listeners in terms of the landmines that we have that are occupying the Barum and all other regions? How can we get assistance from South African partners to assist in terms of what we need assistance with? Thank you very much. I hand over to His Excellency, and then we will go to Madame Mutlau. Thank you very much.
In closing, I want to thank you, Ms. Moonsamy, and thank my dear sister, Sheikh Matlu. But more thanks are due and are deserved by our friends in Salaamedia, this is not the only opportunity they give us. Every time they give us more opportunity to highlight this matter. When it comes to the Court of Justice of European Union, before it was the International Court of Justice, which ruled about the right of self-determination of the Sahrawi people. Then the African Court of Justice in Arusha have ruled in favor of the right of the Sahrawi people and the respect of the territorial integrity of Sahrawi Republic. In South Africa, the Court of Port Elizabeth, Gbarha, and the court in Panama. Then it comes the battle in the courts of European Union, which started in 2017 or 2015. For 10 years, from 2015 to 2025, they were in the first stance. Then the commission did an appeal in the appeal court. Then it went to the Supreme, the highest court in the European Union. In all their judgment, the European judges say that Western Sahara is a distinct and different and separate territory from Morocco, that Morocco has no sovereignty over Western Sahara, that the European Union cannot buy or sell with Morocco, which is a force of occupation, that the Sahrawi people have the sovereignty of their land, air, and waters, that European cannot fish in Western Sahara, that the only permission that Europe can take for permission are the Sahrawis and their legitimate representative, the Polisario Front. It was a landmark ruling by the European Court that also reminded the judgment of the African Court, the judgment of the South African Court, the judgment of many other courts like Panama and many other countries. When it comes to law, Morocco have no rights, nothing, no legality, no any mean to prove why he is there. The Morocco is there on our land because of the might, because of his force, because of his tanks, because of his soldiers, but not because any other. Morocco is driven the occupation of our land by his greed, by the only greed. Because Western Sahara is so rich in any kind of natural resources, they are there to spoil, to steal, and to exploit our natural resources and send them to their European and Western allies and Israel. Now they just awarded Israel a license to look for petrol and gas in Western Sahara. They were selling fisheries and phosphate to the European Union before the court, and they are dealing with the United States also about some of our natural resources. About human rights, I advise everyone to read the report of Amnesty International, the report of Human Rights Watch, the report of Human Rights Defenders, even report on the United Nations High Commission for Human Rights that wasn't published, unfortunately, but it's there. These international, reputable, respected NGOs of human rights, they are saying that Morocco have been embarked in a systematic violation of human rights, that they are beating and abusing every right of the Sahrawi people. They are putting people in jail without proper judgment. Now, giving heavy sentences of 30 years and 25 years for someone who was doing a peaceful demonstration. Morocco record on human rights is the most of the worst records in the world. It's like the record of Pinochet in Chile and Franco in Spain, because Morocco is the country of Tazmamart, the worst jail ever seen in the history of humankind.
Thank you. Let's quickly get a closing remark from Madame Bushiho before we close. We're running out of time, but we are going to give her that opportunity.
Yes, the ambassador has said it all. What I want to say is that there may be as many rulings as it has been listed by the ambassador, but Morocco has got the impunity to disregard these rulings because Morocco has got the support of the powers that be, the Western world. The Western world knows what they are getting from Western Sahara through the presence of Morocco there. Therefore, they will pretend they don't see what is going on and allowing Morocco to continue to disregard these rulings because they know, they are supporting what Morocco is doing. But coming to South Africa and the support we are giving to Western Sahara, I find it might be really inadequate. And I think what we should do, we have a group already, that committee we've set up on supporting Western Sahara. We need to go on road shows, on campaigns to popularize the struggle of the people of Western Sahara, so that when we say we are demanding that South Africa throws out Morocco, people know what we are talking about. I don't think the people of South Africa know much about what's going on in the Western Sahara. And it is our duty. We have talked about this, but we haven't done it. We need to go out there and popularize this struggle so that when we start making demands, people understand and people will support us. That's what I want to say about, South Africa and support to Western Sahara. We mustn't forget the friends we had during our struggle. When it's our time to support, let us do it in spirit and in truth and in deed.
Thank you so much, Madam Bohisho. Thank you, His Excellency. I think this was a really good and important session. We need to continue using every platform that we can in order to raise the awareness, and not just awareness, to get support, to get physical bodies on the ground, physical money in our pocket. And we're not ashamed to say it, because you cannot have a war without the means to sustain it and to sustain the people who are being oppressed. We thank you once again. We thank Salaamedia and the listeners. Assalamu alaikum, Ramadan Mubarak. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Ambassador.
Okay,
thank you, Magdalene.
Okay.
Thank you.